Today I'm going to be giving my persuasive speech. And today I want to persuade you that socialism is taking away your freedom. This might be a controversial topic. I didn't read anything that says controversial topics weren't allowed. So I'm going to go with it and just shoot the gun as we go. So I'm going to give you a fair warning. I understand that there can be a big difference between democratic socialism, national socialism, communism, all of the fun stuff. But I want to be tackling the overall concept of socialism, why it isn't beneficial, and why it is taking away your freedom. United States Senator Bernie Sanders says he's a democratic socialist and has been getting a lot of attention for promoting these policies for the past several years. I remember in the 2016 election, he went on and just stayed adamant on democratic socialism is very different than regular socialism. And that might be true in some ways and not in others. In fact, they have a lot of similarities that I wouldn't recommend going down that road on. But we're here to talk about just the overall concept of socialism. He's been promoting policies such as a single-payer healthcare system, free college tuition, or raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour across the country. Although many of these policies, they seem like good ideas, economically they are impossible. Let's take student loan for interest, or for instance, not interest, but you get a little bit of that too. Let's take student loans. Student loans, you have signed a contract saying you will agree to pay that contract, pay that money once you are done. Once you are done with this contract, you can't fight your way out of it. You can't say, I just don't want to pay it. You knew what you were signing when you got into it. It's self-responsibility. Now, do I like student loans? Absolutely not. I don't think anyone does. But I know what I'm getting into when I sign up for it and I have to pay back the university or wherever I'm attending or whatever I'm doing, because that's self-responsibility and that's being an adult. Single-payer healthcare system is where it'll be government funded, and while some people find this beneficial, other people don't want to pay the deductibles on that, and they have every right to. In his policy, they just create so many different controversies and roadblocks, and he plans on paying for all these proposals through tax hikes on the wealthy. Very different and very big contrast to what Ronald Reagan wanted when he wanted to give tax breaks to the wealthy, and the economics trickled down to the middle and lower class. It's up for debate on how well that worked, but that's not what we're talking about. Not what I'm getting into today. But Sanders believes that people earning over $10 million should be taxed 52%, rising from the current 39.6%. A senator from Vermont wants to make everyone making above $500,000 a year pay more for their income to the government in order to pay for more social programs. Even citizens making anywhere from $231,450 to $350,000 annually will get a sharp raise in income tax from the typical 33% of your income to a 37%. It's no question that socialists want to redistribute the wealth, and that sounds great on paper, but for much of the time, through taxes and the lessened income inequality to pay for the government programs, there's problems with that. It's not economically plausible, and you've got to pay attention to the numbers here. And just there's moral things too, such as you're not entitled to someone else's money. Okay, I've been told by people all the time that the rich need to pay their fair share, and I can agree. However, the top 1% of the nation already pay 50% of the tax revenue. The rich have been giving us millions upon millions, but we still rack up huge effects. A lot of people go around chanting, tax the rich, when we already do. But what makes them entitled to the wealthy's money? Taking hard-earned money from someone else isn't the way to go. It isn't morally right. I don't support crony capitalism personally, and corporations using tax loopholes, that just sucks. Okay, I can't get behind that at all. But these tax increases affect normal Americans like you and me. See, you would be taking away money from the small business owner or the man who worked his way up through the ranks and the average citizen who's worked so hard to earn their revenue. It's easy to say tax the rich when it isn't your money. But when it is your money, then you get mad and you get affected. And that's where it affects us as normal people. Okay, let's look at it this way. Let's say you and I are buying a pizza. The pizza we're splitting is $10. We both chip in about $5, I think would be fair. You pay 50%, I pay 50%. Well, let's say you make a little bit much more money than I do. Okay, so you say, I'm going to pay $7, and I agree to pay $3. You volunteered to pay that. So you're a good Samaritan. You're a good person. Congratulations. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem comes when I know you're more wealthy. I'm paying $3 and I pull a gun out on you and say you are forced to pay this much. I try to reinforce you to pay that much. When I could pay $5 and you could pay $5 and that would be even. It's a matter of being voluntarily and involuntarily told you have to pay and spend as much as you do. Taking away money from the wealthy isn't going to solve anything. See, the transaction becomes involuntary when you do that. And the wealthier of the two is being flat out robbed. The person with the lower income isn't entitled to the other person's money. Straight up. It's either you spend your money on it, they spend their money fairly, or you can't force them to spend more. It's not morally or ethically right, really, even economically. Americans are forgetting that we don't always need the government to run social programs. In fact, I think the government needs to run a whole lot less in our society, considering that the government sucks at everything. It's like marriage. Gay marriage, I think they just need to get out of. The government sucks at everything. They can't do anything right. They can't tax us correctly. They can't build good roads. If you live in West Virginia, you know this. They just need to get out of it. If they get out of it, these things will fix themselves. We don't need the government to be Big Brother watching over us, which they are. And that's what people who want socialism are advocating for. They want the government to be Big Brother. But just because the government isn't taking money away from the wealthy doesn't mean the social programs will cease to exist. They will still be there. They'll still have an impact. You can still have, these medical programs. You can still have all the Social Security and everything. They don't have to take away. So one would ask, and I've been asked this question a lot of times, what about Scandinavia? What about the Nordic countries? Well, these are often referred to because you have countries like Denmark, Sweden, Norway as socialist successes. Nevertheless, all three of these countries use the free market-based economy to boost revenue. And, Denmark's own prime minister even said, which this is Lars Loke Rasmussen, he said this in November 2015. I know there are some people in the U.S. that associate the Nordic model with some sort of socialism. Therefore, I would like to make one thing clear. Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a free market economy. We also got to keep in mind the populations are radically different. Here in the United States, we have about 318 million people. Norway only has 5.1 million, Denmark 5.6, and Sweden 9.7. All have only the small fraction of the population with the same ideologies and policies that won't work in all countries. Socialism, by concept, is immoral and irrational, and it's stealing from other people. The United States has had many socialist programs, but we can't control our reckless spending. We spend too much money on things, and that's why we couldn't survive. We spend over $114,000, and then we have the wealthy already paying 50% of our taxes and in our tax revenue. So you could tax every single taxpayer at the 100% rate, and we still couldn't pay off our debt. Socialism isn't the solution to our problems. Spending reform is. Bottom line is that we've got to fix our spending. We've got to fix our infrastructure economically if we want to make it. Socialism isn't going to fix these problems. It is just going to add on to them, especially in the state the United States is in now. And at the end of the day, when you lose your money and when other people lose their money because of government intervention in programs and different things, it all falls back to someone's freedom has been taken away. And that's why socialism is taking away your freedom and will take away your freedom, and why you should look into a free market system, and I promise you, you'll enjoy it a whole lot more. Hope you enjoyed this speech. Thanks for listening.